Right there's a piece of spurge.
That is unacceptable.
It come up.
Unacceptable.
Come up in the compost.
It heard me pulling in the driveway and the spurge come up.
It knew Pete was coming. So it just popped up.
Said, Pete's here. Let's show Brad. Let's get Brad. I'm gonna tell you what, man. The grass looks some kind of good. Holy cow. Turf type tall fescue. Where are we at?
Gamewell, North Carolina.
Gamewell, North Carolina. Right outside of Lenore and Hickory.
Yep. It's actually in the Lenore, I guess, city limits.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the nutsedge in the bed.
Yeah, they look just like mine. This used to be grass, right?
Yep.
And you cut that out, made a bed, and
because they're probably getting ready to take that old pole up.
Yeah, the main thing is you didn't like mowing around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt.
I think that's one thing I notice out here is you've set it up to where your mowing is easy.
Try to set it up to where
like this arc right here.
Yeah.
That way you ain't got to make a sharp turn. Yeah. You just kind of flow right around.
Yeah. It still beats the edge up a little bit, but I mean, with my equipment, it runs the same track. It just ain't much you can do about it.
Yeah, dude, this is a really good looking stand of turf, man.
The only thing I can say is there ain't no weeds in it.
Yeah, no, it ain't no weeds in it. Got a little touch of sedge here and there, but I mean, that's when you irrigate and pump the water to it, and late summer you're just likely to get some of that. I like the way, and this is something I may be doing at my new house. I love the way you've got the rock in the beds. Does this rock have an actual?
That is 3/4 of an inch to 1 3/4 inch Virginia river rock.
Virginia river rock.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking for something considerably lower maintenance in my beds.
The only thing about this is edging's a little hard, but about the only thing you use is a string trimmer.
Yeah, that's right.
You just got to run it low
and you can't dig because you'll throw rocks everywhere. But I love the way you've got these edges.
There's 100 and...
Look at that line right there, man. Did you put a tape line on that?
I did. 115 tons of rock.
115 tons of rock. Let that sink in for a minute.
It's 13,000 square foot of bed.
13,000 square feet of bedded area. So yeah, man, this looks good, man. I'm telling you, dude. And for context, it is August 25th. Today's supposed to be what, 100 degrees?
100 degrees.
100 degrees today.
108 heat index.
Heat index 108, and this fescue is killing it. Let me rephrase that. The fescue ain't killing it. It's this man right here that's killing it.
I'm trying the best I can.
He's got you're like big time on spoon feeding, right?
Yep. I mean, me personally, I spray fungicide every 14 days, low rate.
Low rates every 14 days on fungicide.
And I will pump about 0.05 to 0.08 pounds of nitrogen every app.
That's called being dialed in. The man knows his numbers to a T.
I just, plus my soil it's 54% sand and 30% red clay. So the CEC's low, so I mean, it doesn't hold nutrients like a good soil.
Yep.
So I mean, I can kind of get away with it.
So sandy soil, low CEC, meaning, in my opinion, and probably yours too, a better way to approach that, instead of heavy applications of fertilizer spread out, you do more what's called spoon feeding. You do lighter doses more frequently through the year.
Yep.
Because there's nothing here to hold that nutrient in place.
Nothing there to hold it
for the turf to use it. So
I have never ever put more. I mean, I do use granular, but I have never put more than half a pound of granular down at one time.
Never more than a half a pound of granule at one time. That is spoon feeding to a T when you're making those light.
And I mean, it's got its advantages and disadvantages. And one disadvantage for me is, I'm on the grass a lot more.
Yeah.
Than.
Yep.
And it does. I mean, it'll beat it up around the perimeter some with, my sprayer and spreader being a ride-on.
A big advantage is you can control the growth.
Yep.
It's kind of a catch-22. You're on the yard. You're spending more time on the yard spraying, but you're not having to mow as much.
Exactly.
Because you're not getting all those spikes of growth.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
I mean, like this time of year and late spring, that's the last thing I want is a lot of growth.
Yeah. Summertime, tall fescue. In reality, you don't want it growing 100 miles an hour because that can lead to different stress areas and stuff, and especially if you're not irrigated and you cut the water off and the turf wants to grow and wants to push, but it doesn't have the moisture there to support it, you're going to stress the grass out.
Yep.
So it is what it is.
So I run, like this morning, I had to irrigate this morning. I start at 2:30 a.m. and it ends at 9 a.m.
Irrigation starts at 2:30 a.m., ends at 9 a.m.
And I use roughly about 6,800 gallons of water.
Roughly 6,800 gallons of water per irrigation cycle.
Irrigation.
And this is how many square feet?
It's 31,000 of turf.
31,000 square feet of turf.
And that actually only puts down about, depending on the zone, some of them I've got it dialed back a little bit, but 0.35 to 0.4, or 0.35 tenths to 0.4 tenths.
Let that sink in a minute. Let's recap on that. 31,000 square feet of turf. The irrigation zones are what, 30 minutes a zone?
No, well, so I run 4.0 nozzles, and those only do 180s.
Okay.
So I run them a total of 9 minutes a zone 3 times. I'd use 3 start times. Okay. So the water will soak in. Yeah. And then these long zones, they're 2.0 on the end, 4.0 in the middle.
Yeah, because they're 360.
Doing a 360.
Yeah.
So like these zones run 18 minutes per zone.
So
3
double
times.
Because you're putting out twice the water.
Yeah.
Or half the water,
excuse
me, because it's making 360. But let that sink in. All that running is only 3/10 of an inch.
Yep. That's
in
the
one
biggest,
cycle.
It's the biggest thing people don't understand and get. They don't measure the water.
Yeah.
They're guessing.
Yeah. An inch is quite a bit of water.
That's a lot of water.
Quite a bit of water, and fescue typically requires an inch per week.
Yep.
In normal circumstances.
I normally water every other day.
Yeah, and then
every 2 days.
Every 2 days. And then you can bump that up a little bit when the weather dictates that, meaning it's hot and dry and ain't no rain in sight. And sometimes you can get up around 1.5 inches a week. So that's amazing. 6,000,
about 65 to 6,800 gallons of water.
65 to 6,800 gallons of water.
Woohoo! I had an irrigation leak. I had to dig it up, and I put sod. I took sod from another area, put it here, but my sod broke apart. I mean, there's huge gaps, but this is all lateral spread fescue.
Right.
And it is almost filled back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there was no grass at all.
The whole lateral spread fescue thing is absolutely fantastic because now you have a fescue that will act similarly to a bluegrass, a cool season turf that typically ain't going to spread, and now it'll kind of fill in little holes.
And I lied. Here's a piece of, right there's a piece of spurge.
That is unacceptable.
It come up.
Unacceptable.
Come up in the compost.
It heard me pulling in the driveway and the spurge come up.
It knew Pete was coming. So he popped up.
Said, Pete's here. Let's show Brad. Let's get Brad. This is some of you might follow Brad on Instagram and places, and of course he's in our Facebook group. And the one thing that has struck me when I pulled in is the pictures he posts make the yard look kind of flat, and you can tell it's got a little bit of undulation in the pictures, but it's nothing like in real world. It's quite a bit slopey. Lots of drop off right here. I mean, that's what, 3 foot drop off?
Yeah.
In one mower width deck, that's a 3 foot drop off right there. And then you're at least from the bottom of his shed across to there, you're at least a 15 to 20 foot drop off.
Yep.
At least from there down to here.
Yep.
And then the entire front yard from the house slopes even harder down to this corner. So it's when you guys watch him on the Academy and Instagram, know that this ain't a normal flat yard you're dealing with. So that to me, that's even more of a testament to what kind of work Mr. Brad puts into it.
I got a YouTube, but I just don't see how Pete. I don't see how you do this.
Do what?
And I mean, take care of a lawn like yours and move all these cameras.
I'll be wide open, brother. Wide open.
I mean, I just don't see how you can even do it.
Just talk equipment. Brad come from the golf course industry. Were you a superintendent?
I was assistant
Superintendent.
I went to college and took turf grass management. And
where
at Catawba Valley Community College.
Okay.
It's actually it's a pretty good program. I mean, of course, it ain't NC State or nothing, but but I mean, I started off at the golf course low on the totem pole.
Yep.
I mean, it
worked his way up.
It don't matter if you got an education or not. I started off as an intern when I was in college.
Mm-hmm. And so now, fast forward years, and he's got his own company doing other things. And so he's technically a DIY.
DIY, yeah.
A little bit of a unique DIY because of his equipment. You use a Toro grandstand?
So I have a Toro grandstand. It's a 48 inch. That's
48.
Actually what this is mowed with.
Okay.
I got a right just like yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I actually prefer to mow with it because the grandstand has twills and it's actually a little harder on the grass. My personal opinion.
Well, the right he's talking about is like a walk behind.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of grass to walk behind. It takes me up the hills and stuff.
It takes me a good hour and a half, 2 hours to mow it all.
Hour and a half, 2 hours to mow.
With the right.
With the right. Sprayer, don't you use a Z spray?
I have a Steel Green.
SG46.
SG46.
And you go down at a gallon per thousand?
2. I bumped it up to 2.
He's spraying it 2 gallon per thousand. So what's the tank capacity on that?
It's 50 gallons. So I have a
50
tank.
gallons at 25. So you got to fill up 1 1/4.
Yep. I got a tank I mix in.
Yeah.
And fill it up, and then when I get low, I swing back up there.
Fill up.
Fill it back up,
keep
and
spraying.
hit it again.
Yeah. All right. Any special push mowing areas or anything like that?
No, I had a 36 inch walk behind and I regret selling it.
Yeah.
Because the smaller areas,
you could get in the little tight spots. Yeah. Okay, leaf removal. You see he's got crepe myrtles and what is it? Is that what kind of
old Bradford pears?
That's an old Bradford pear.
That's probably some of the biggest Bradford pears I've ever seen.
That's why I had a little trouble.
Yep.
That's a humongous Bradford pear. How do you do leaves?
Backpack blower.
Backpack blower. You don't ride over them and mow them and chop them up.
I may do that this year since this has got a good solid year.
Good grass.
2 years on
good
it.
Solid standard grass. But I'm a huge fan of that. It's on nice manicured turf. I like to blow the leaves and physically remove the leaves from the turf.
Yep.
Because I don't like all the little fine dustings and choppings all down in the canopy and it just sits there. Yeah, it'll rot and decay over time, but I just personal preference. I don't like it.
It takes a while to do it. I mean, it's those Bradford pears, they're full of leaves anyway. So.
That's a lot of leaves, yeah. All right, well that's Mr. Brad. I've known Brad for how long now?
Good. Probably since 2019.
Yeah. Since 2019, we message each other and text each other quite often, and met him one time in person before when I brought my car up here to Anthony.
Yep.
And then I dropped my car off just now to get some new brakes, racing brakes put on it, and I hit Brad up and said, "I'm coming to your house, brother. You better make sure that spurge is gone."
That's it.
So hey, as always, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch. We'll check you later.
See ya.
So real quick, I thought this was super interesting. This is Brad's well, and he has a backflow over there that in case his well ever goes kaplooey, he can hook to that and do city water. But this well is 59 years old.
Yep.
1964.
When it was drilled.
215 feet deep. 75 gallons a freaking minute. Holy cow.
That well right there fed 100,000 chickens, 4 residential houses, and a barn. One well.
Wow. I wanted to show you that. That was extremely interesting to me.
Yep.